Welcome, dear listener. Come in gently, quietly, as though you are stepping through a threshold long forgotten, a place where air tastes of incense and old stone, where time has slowed to the rhythm of breath and thought dissolves into mist. Tonight, you drift not into dreams alone, but into a dream that many once believed was real, a place between the mortal and the divine, between silence and vision, between the veils of fate. We are traveling to Delphi, not the ruins you may know, but Delphi as it once was, or perhaps as it still is somewhere, just beyond the edges of sleep, nestled into the folds of Mount Parnassus. Delphi was a place where gods whispered through earth, through air, through the fragile lips of those chosen to listen. The wind here is not wind, it is the breath of prophecy. The stones are not stones, they are stories, older than memory. It is here, in the heart of Greece, that the Oracle of Apollo spoke, not in loud voices, not in declarations, but in murmurs and riddles, in visions that shimmered like candlelight on water. And those who came, kings, warriors, wanderers, they came not for answers, but for the questions they did not yet know to ask. But before the voices, before the smoke, before even the god himself arrived, there was something else, a beginning beneath beginnings, a silence before sound, and it is there, dear listener, that we will begin. So breathe in slowly, let go of today, of clocks and weight and worry. You are entering a temple, not of stone and altar, but of imagination and memory. Let each word guide you deeper into calm, each moment take you further into the sacred haze. There is no need to understand, only to listen, only to feel, only to rest. Let us begin. Before Apollo laid claim to the sacred slope, before the high priests arrived with laurel crowns and silver bowls, before Pythia, the oracle, ever sat on her golden tripod, there was only the mountain and silence, a silence so deep, so unmoving, that it was said time itself dared not stir. There were no cities, no roads, no shrines, only the breath of the earth, hidden within stone. The slopes of Mount Parnassus had not yet been named. The streams that would one day cleanse pilgrims' hands ran wild and unnoticed. The air was untouched by smoke. Even the gods had not yet arrived. This was a time when the world still whispered to itself in the voice of water and tree root, when earth was not earth, but a living presence, sleeping, dreaming. Deep within the folds of the mountain lay a chasm, ancient even then. It was not carved by wind or rain. No, it had always been there, a wound, or a mouth, or a portal. None could say. And from it rose a vapor that did not belong to this world. This mist was not fog. It did not come with weather. It came with meaning. Those who passed near it, shepherds, wild deer, birds in mid-flight, would sometimes halt, pause strangely, and then flee, for this mist carried dreams, fragments of futures, memories that were not one's own. No one stayed long in the place where the earth breathed, but something was listening, for this is how myths begin, softly, like a heartbeat in the soil. There were whispers among the villagers in the valleys below, stories of a deep place that sang in sleep. They said there was a creature there, older than the gods, coiled in the roots of the world, a she-serpent, they said, a dracaena, not monstrous, no, but sacred, primordial, and full of knowledge that predated light. Her name was Python. Not a beast to slay, not yet. She was the pulse of Gaia, the earth herself. She moved not in hunger, but in knowing. It was said she knew the secrets of creation, not because she had learned them, but because she was born before questions existed. And the vapors, they were her breath, her thoughts, her sleep. The air itself dreaming around her coiled form. In this early time, when all things shimmered between myth and meaning, the earth was revered not for conquest, but for its mystery. The people who lived near the mountain primitive, quiet, attuned, began to treat the place as sacred. They left offerings, not gold or stone, but honey, milk, soft woven cloth. They whispered into the mists, hoping to be heard. And sometimes they were. One day, or perhaps one night, for time here was fluid, a woman entered the cavern. Some say she was a priestess, others say she was only a shepherdess, lost in the high slopes. She did not speak, she did not scream. But when she returned from the mountain, her eyes were clouded with starlight, and her lips spoke words no one understood. Prophecies, poetry, warnings. She became the first voice of the earth, a voice not her own. She spoke as if in trance, and when she awoke, she remembered nothing. They called her Pythia, named for Python, for it was believed the spirit of the earth had breathed through her, not possessed, not cursed, simply used gently as a vessel. Others came, others tried, but only certain women could hold the breath of the serpent without being burned. Only certain voices could carry the weight of truth without breaking. And so, the first oracle was born, not in fire, nor in divine thunder, but in mist, in silence, in the space between sleep and wakefulness. Before Apollo ever touched the temple, before gods laid claim, there was Gaia, there was Python, and there was the breath of dreams rising from the deep places of the world. In time, change came to the sacred mountain, not suddenly, not with war or fire, but like a shift in the wind that only the trees noticed at first. For even the old gods, deep in their eternal realms, stirred when they felt the silence of Delphi become to still, to knowing, and among them, one heard the whispers most clearly. Apollo, son of Zeus, twin to Artemis, god of music, light, and healing, and of prophecy. He was not a god of stillness. No, Apollo was movement, clarity, order. Where there was shadow, he brought the blaze of noon. Where there was discord, he tuned the lyre of the cosmos. He saw the wildness of Delphi, the sacred serpent, the breath of Gaia, and he desired to claim it, not to destroy, but to purify, to bring the chaotic truth of the earth under the clarity of the sun. The myths say Apollo descended from Olympus with his golden bow in hand and light pouring from his eyes. They say he came to conquer the dragon, Python, to stake his divine claim upon the site. But others whispered softly, always softly, that it was not a conquest, but a transformation. For how can one kill what is not truly alive, but eternal? How can one slay the breath of prophecy itself? No, Apollo did not destroy the sacred presence. He absorbed it. He became its guardian, its voice. He laid to rest the wild mystery of Gaia and reshaped it in his own image, sharper, brighter, more refined. The chasm remained, the vapors rose still, but now they were called his. The serpent's spirit faded into myth, and the oracle became Apollo's gift to the world. He did not speak directly, of course. Gods rarely do. Instead, he chose a mouthpiece, and the tradition began, a line of women, always women, chosen not for beauty or birth, but for their ability to surrender to the divine. They bathed in the Castalian spring, they chewed laurel leaves, sacred to the god. They inhaled the vapors from the chasm, and in that breathless place between wakefulness and trance, they became Pythia. Each Pythia was said to embody both earth and sky, the raw depth of Gaia and the luminous order of Apollo. When she spoke, her words were riddled, elusive, curling like smoke through meaning and mystery. The high priests would interpret, transcribe, and relay the answers, but those who truly listened knew that the real message lay not in the words, but in the spaces between them. And so, the shrine grew, from a wild mountain cave to a stone sanctuary, from whispered offerings to marble altars. Pilgrims came, not just peasants or poets, but kings, Entire empires consulted the oracle before taking ships to war or building new cities. They traveled weeks, months, simply to hear a few cryptic words breathed from the mouth of the god. But Delphi was never truly tamed, for though Apollo's name was carved into every lintel, the mountain remembered. The earth still breathed, and sometimes, in the quiet of night, when the torches flickered low and no rituals were being performed, the old vapors rose from the chasm without being summoned. Some said it was Python, stirring in forgotten dreams. Others said it was Gaia herself, reminding the world that before the light, there was shadow. Before Apollo, there was something older, softer, more wild. The priestesses knew. They could feel the dual pulse in their veins, the fire of Apollo and the deep knowing of the earth. They carried both like a delicate balance, never fully surrendering to one, never denying the other. That was the secret, that was the gift. To be an oracle was not to know answers, it was to become a question. And Delphi became the question that echoed across centuries, a place where divine light met eternal mist, where gods borrowed voices, and where time could pause for a moment to listen. With the arrival of Apollo and the rise of the Pythia, the sacred site of Delphi ceased to be just a place on the earth. It became a center of the world, not in metaphor alone, but quite literally, for nestled beneath the temple's foundation, placed with purpose and reverence, was the omphalos, the navel stone, a smooth, rounded object, carved of marble, wrapped once in sacred cloth. To the ancient Greeks, it marked the very belly of the earth, the place where divine intention met mortal need. They said Zeus released two eagles from opposite ends of the sky, and where they met, they circled, dipped, and landed, was Delphi, the center of all things, the still point in the turning world. And so time, which had once flowed wild and formless through the ancient forest paths, began to organize itself around the rhythms of the oracle. Seasons were not just measured by crops or stars, but by when Pythia would speak. She did not offer visions daily. No, that would reduce the divine to routine. Only on sacred days, when the signs were favorable, would the god descend again into her breath, and the sanctuary would fill with murmured prayers and trembling hope. The sanctuary itself grew with these rhythms. Pathways were cleared and terraced, steps carved into the side of Mount Parnassus. Cypress trees, tall and whispering, lined the ascent. Stone walls etched with prophecies framed the approach. The smell of incense drifted on every breeze, not overpowering, but soft, resinous, timeless. It was here that early magic settled, not as spell or spectacle, but as presence. Everything had meaning: a crow landing on a branch, a sudden gust from the chasm, the pattern of leaves on the temple floor. To those attuned to the unseen, these were not accidents, but messages, gentle nudges from the divine, hinting at truths just beyond the veil. And it wasn't only Apollo whose presence lingered. The old spirits still moved in quiet corners. The essence of Gaia, the sleep mind of Python, the elder murmur of the mountain. These forces were not banished. They simply learned to flow beneath the surface, invisible but not gone. The oracle's words, even when shaped by Apollo, still carried echoes of something older, something deeper, a knowing that felt not spoken but remembered. Nature responded. The Castalian spring, whose waters flowed from the cliffside, took on sacred meaning. Those who sought prophecy would cleanse themselves there first, not to be made pure, but to become quiet, to hear more fully, to allow the boundary between themselves and the world to soften. Pilgrims said that the water carried music no lyre could replicate, that if you sat by the stream and closed your eyes, you could almost hear voices in the falling trickle, not language exactly, but sensation, a memory being sung back to you by the stones. And in the quiet of dawn, when the stars had only just released their grip on the sky and the mountain shadows stretched long and dreamlike. It was said that Delphi became not a place but a threshold between night and day, between gods and mortals, between what is known and what can never be known. Magic in Delphi was never a flash or a fire. It was the hush before speech, the pause between question and answer. It was the way the wind curved through the columns of the temple, like a hand brushing the face of the world. And it was the knowledge that the sacred did not come from loud revelation, but from stillness and waiting, and the willingness to not understand. Over centuries. Empires would rise and fall, but Delphi remained, its magic rooted in the deep time of the earth. The stones aged, the names changed, but the breath of the oracle never ceased. And even now, when the temple lies in ruin and the Pythia no longer sits above the chasm, some say that if you walk those mountain paths at twilight, you might still hear it, the faint sound of laurel leaves rustling, the breath of the earth rising in silver mist, and the trace of a voice saying something not quite forgotten. The woman who sat at the edge of the chasm, her skin brushed by the rising vapors, was not a goddess. She did not command lightning, nor ride chariots pulled by beasts of myth. She had no armies, no temples built in her name alone, and yet, all the great ones came to her. She was the Pythia, not a name, but a title, not a single woman, but a lineage, a quiet inheritance passed from breath to breath. And though her voice was soft, though her face was often veiled, she held in her presence the weight of destinies, the turning of kingdoms, the whispered yes or no upon which entire futures balanced. But before she was the oracle, she was a girl. She may have come from the nearby village of Castri, or from the shepherd tribes who lived farther up the slope. Her name is lost, not because it was unworthy, but because the moment she was chosen, her past was gently laid to rest, like a garment folded and placed aside. From that moment on, she belonged not to herself, but to something much larger. The signs of selection were subtle, a strange stillness in her eyes, a rhythm in her voice that matched the mountain wind, a dream she spoke aloud one morning that revealed something no one else could have known. When such signs appeared, the priests would come, not with force, but with reverence. And the girl would be led up the sacred path, not as a prisoner, but as a vessel. Her life was not taken, it was transformed. She was not taught to prophecy. No one could be. She was taught silence, presence, the art of listening with the whole of her being. She learned the sacred rites, the washing in Castalia's waters, the chewing of the laurel leaf, the songs to Apollo sung not with melody, but with breath. Most importantly, she learned to sit above the fissure, to sit in stillness until the mist rose and the god arrived. But the god never came as a flash or a thunderclap. He came as pressure, as warmth beneath the ribs, as a blooming behind the eyes. And when he came, she spoke, not in her voice, not in her mind, but as something beyond both. Her words were not her own, but they passed through her with the clarity of crystal. Sometimes they were riddles, sometimes songs, sometimes images that could not be fully described, only lived. The priests listened, transcribed, and interpreted, but those who stood in the chamber often wept without knowing why, because in that moment, they had touched something eternal. And when it ended, the trance, the breath, the divine presence, the Pythia would rest. She would drink honeyed water, sit in the gardens behind the temple, her fingers trailing the leaves. She would not remember what had passed through her, not because she had forgotten, but because it had never belonged to her in the first place. This was her power, not control, but surrender, not knowledge, but willingness. She became the meeting place between mortal and divine, between question and answer, between fate and freedom. And though her name was never carved into stone, Those statues were not raised in her likeness. She was known across the ancient world, from Egypt to Lydia, from Sparta to Macedon. Her presence was felt, and in the hush before every great decision, there was her breath, her echo, her gift, a woman, a girl, a voice that came from the mountain and passed like wind into the soul of a people. It began like any other day in the high season of spring. The temple courtyard bloomed with new laurel, and the morning wind carried the scent of honey and stone. Pilgrims had arrived before dawn, some walking weeks with little more than sandals and prayer. Among them, a man stood cloaked in red. His guards waited beyond the sanctuary, but the weight of command never left his posture. He was a general, perhaps even a king, though none in Delphi called him so. He did not speak as he entered the inner chamber. No one ever did. The Pythia, seated above the sacred fissure, already waited. Her eyes were cast downward, her expression unreadable. Around her, the air shimmered. A stillness held the room, not silence, but something more, a hum beneath thought, like the earth itself was listening. The general did not kneel. He placed an offering, a small statue of Apollo, carved in polished amber. Then he stepped back and closed his eyes, waiting for the god to speak. The laurel leaves rustled in the priestess's hand. She breathed deeply, once, then again, drawing in the vapor that curled faintly from the cleft in the stone. Her body swayed, slowly, rhythmically, like a tree moved by wind. Then her head lifted, her eyes opened. Though they did not see the chamber, she had entered the trance. The words began softly, fragmented, like water breaking over rocks. A shadow moves with twin faces, one to rule, one to destroy. The lion eats its own cub. The stars weep where rivers run dry. Choose not by sword, but by silence. Let the lesser path bloom first. The bright one comes when the old light fades. The priests leaned forward, capturing the flow in swift scratches of ink. The general stared, unmoving. His question had not been spoken aloud. None ever were. And yet he felt, in those cryptic lines, a blade's edge waiting. He had come seeking the god's blessing for war, a conquest he was certain must happen. But now he was not certain of anything. When the Pythia fell silent, her breath softened, and her gaze faded again into her own. She was helped gently from the tripod and led back into rest. She would not remember what had passed, but the general would, for the prophecy was not a verdict. It was a mirror, and in it, he had seen more than a path to victory. He had seen his own reflection, pride, ambition, and the cost yet unpaid. This moment, not of triumph, but of transformation, is what marked the true journey of those who sought the oracle. Many expected fate. What they received was choice. And for the Pythia, too, there were turning points, though each oracle was chosen with care, trained with reverence. None could truly prepare for the weight of carrying the unspeakable. Some could only serve a year before their minds frayed. Others lasted a lifetime, their voices growing more layered, more distant from the self they once were. One Pythia, her name, like the others, erased into reverence, once spoke during a solar eclipse, an event seen as deeply portentous. Her words were not written, not by scribes nor priests, for they were not meant to be remembered. She spoke in a tongue no one could decipher, and when the sun returned, she wept. Not from fear, from awe. She said, when she awoke, that the god had shown her the weaving of fate, not lines or threads, but waves of time, endless and folding upon one another. She had seen the beginning and the end, and how they were the same. She could not speak of it, not fully. But after that day, she sang only in whispers, and her touch healed those who approached her in silence. These moments, between trance and transformation, between seeker and seer, were not recorded in epics or etched in marble. They were passed down in whispers, in glances shared by those who had felt the temple shift beneath their feet. They were not history. They were something deeper. The oracle's gift was not only what she said, but what she stirred. She was not merely a vessel of divine will. She was a guide through the unknown, a map made not of roads, but of dreams. And so, in her presence, great men hesitated, armies waited, queens revised their prayers, because in a single breath, she could reshape the heart of a question, not by answering it, but by revealing the soul of the one who asked. Time passed, as it always does, though in Delphi it passed gently, like a hand smoothing linen. Seasons changed on the mountain, olives ripened and fell, frost softened the edges of marble, and the chasm, ever breathing, never ceased its quiet. Exhale. The Pythia who once whispered the fate of kings eventually returned to the earth. Her name never recorded, her voice remembered only in fragments. Another took her place, and another after that. Each was different, yet the same. Vessels, through which the god passed like wind through reeds. And though their words echoed across empires, they themselves faded with a quiet dignity, as all true oracles must. But their legacy, oh, their legacy lived on. For Delphi did not die when the temple fell silent, even as the world changed, even as new gods rose and the old ways were buried beneath history's tide. The memory of the oracle endured, not as relic or ruin, but as presence. In distant lands, travelers spoke of dreams that led them to mountain passes lined with laurel. In quiet monasteries, scribes copied fragments of verses spoken long ago by veiled women who had no names. In the hearts of rulers, hesitation lingered before battle, not fear, but the faint echo of a voice once heard in smoke. And deeper still, beyond parchment and stone, was the transformation the oracle left behind in those who truly listened. Some who visited her never returned to their cities. They remained in Delphi, taking up quiet lives as caretakers of springs, gardens, or goats, not because they had lost their path, but because they had found stillness, found peace, found something they could not name, and no longer needed to. Others, inspired by the riddles, became poets or philosophers, not repeating her words, but allowing them to live as questions in the heart. And still others, who came seeking power, returned home gentler, not weaker, but tempered, as if the god's breath had cooled the fire of ego and revealed a deeper kind of strength. For that was the oracle's true power, not to predict the future, though she sometimes did, not to sway nations, though she often did, but to soften the wall between soul and world, to let those who came feel, if only for a moment, that the universe was not indifferent, that it whispered still, if one only knew how to listen. Even as centuries passed and the temple stones crumbled, pilgrims continued to walk the sacred path. No priests awaited them, no laurel leaves burned, but they knelt just the same, laying offerings of wild flowers or smooth stones at the edge of the chasm, now quiet and overgrown. Some claimed they heard nothing. Others, many others, returned saying they had felt something, a warmth in the chest, a name on the wind, a sudden clarity in a question they had not known they carried. In these quiet echoes, the oracle lived on, not as a figure in myth, but as a presence within, a reminder that true power does not shout. It waits, it listens, it invites, and when it speaks, it does so not to command, but to awaken. Today, when you close your eyes and hear the hush between thoughts, when you feel the stillness before choosing a path, know that she is there, not as a goddess, not as a ghost, but as a memory woven into the soul of the world. The Pythia, the voice of the sacred breath, the mirror that showed not the future, but the self. Before words are formed, before meaning takes root, There is a feeling faint but deep, that something stirs beyond understanding, that somewhere, hidden beneath the symbols and stories, lies a presence not quite named. And in Delphi, that presence was the vapor. They called it pneuma, the sacred breath, the invisible mist that rose from the chasm at the center of the temple, sometimes strong and sudden, sometimes faint as candle smoke. It was said to be the breath of Gaia herself, the Earth Mother. Later, it became known as the breath of Apollo. But long before gods claimed it, people felt it and feared it. This vapor, this mystery, was the very source of prophecy that no one knew when it would rise, only that it did. In the dim chamber, beneath the golden tripod where the Pythia sat, the stone floor split open like a wound in the mountain's skin. From it rose the strange, fragrant exhale, never choking, never thick, but always otherworldly. Some described it as sweet, like myrrh warmed by sun. Others claimed it was sharp, metallic, like lightning on air before a storm. And still others said it had no scent at all, only sensation. But what was it? The priests said it was divine, a gift, the way in which the god descended, not as thunder or fire, but as breath. The Pythia inhaled it in slow, sacred rhythm, not too deeply, never too long, and within moments, her gaze would lift, her body would sway, and through her, the voice would come. But whispers spread, as whispers always do. Some said the vapor was not from the god at all, but from deep, volcanic fault lines, seeping gases from the bowels of the earth. Others believed it was laced with herbs burned in secret chambers, carefully measured by the priests to induce visions. Laurel leaves were known to have faintly psychoactive properties. Could it be that the breath of the oracle was carefully crafted illusion? Still, others believed more ancient truths, that the fissure was a portal, not just into the earth, but between worlds, that the vapor was not gas, but spirit, that when the Pythia breathed it, she did not hallucinate, but crossed a veil, stepping into a space where time curled, where voices of ancestors and gods alike whispered in the same tongue. There were tales of those who inhaled the vapor unbidden, young initiates who crept too close, or messengers who tarried where they should not. Some emerged dazed, speaking in riddles, others never spoke again, and once, only once, a man was said to have entered the chamber alone. When he emerged, he claimed to have seen his own death and vanished into the forest before sunrise, never to be seen again. But perhaps the greatest mystery is not what the vapor was, but why it stopped one day, generations after the height of Delphi's power. The fissure grew quiet. No more breath rose, no more vision stirred the air. The priests offered prayers, lit incense, sang hymns, but the god did not answer. And though the temple remained, though the rituals continued for a time, the breath that once stirred the heart of the world was gone. Some say it was the will of Apollo, that prophecy had served its time, and mankind must now choose without divine aid. Others say the earth herself had grown weary of being asked to speak, that she had offered her wisdom, and, unheeded, withdrawn it. A few believe the vapor still rises, just not for those who seek power or answers, but only for those who come with silence and sleep, and no questions at all, whatever the truth. The breath of Delphi remains the most haunting of all its mysteries, not because it was unseen, but because it was felt deep, visceral, unforgettable. To this day, scientists debate its origin. Historians argue over the accuracy of ancient accounts. But the mountains do not argue. They keep their secrets well, and the chasm still lies beneath the ruins, hidden by time and ivy, quiet as ever, waiting, perhaps, breathing still, but not in ways we recognize. Through the long twilight of Delphi's influence, and into the dusty archives of modern curiosity, The mystery of the oracle's breath has never truly settled. Like the mist itself, interpretations rise and dissipate, soft shapes and shifting light. Each theory offers a truth, and yet none quite hold it all. The ancient priests believed the breath was a direct line to the divine, the voice of Apollo himself entering the lungs of the chosen. They tended the chamber with reverence, ensuring that only the most prepared of priestesses ever descended to sit atop the golden tripod. The rituals were precise, the garments woven with meaning. Even the water from the Castalian spring, used to wash the Pythia's feet before each trance, was considered sacred, but some, even then, whispered of artifice. The philosopher Plutarch, who served for a time as a priest at Delphi, noted the strange effects of the vapors, how they seemed to influence the Pythia's mood, her vision, even her voice. He did not deny the divinity of the experience, but he wondered aloud, could the god not work through the natural world? Could these vapors be of the earth and still holy? Centuries later, as the ruins of Delphi were unearthed once more, modern science entered the sacred chamber. Geologists explored the fault lines, chemists tested the air. In time, they discovered what the ancients had only sensed: two geological fault lines intersected beneath the temple, releasing a mixture of gases into the cavern air. Most notably, ethylene, a sweet-smelling compound known to produce altered states of consciousness in certain doses. And yet, even with this knowledge, the mystery deepens. For how could such precise atmospheric conditions have created such a lasting, structured tradition? How could the presence of a simple gas, one that might now be dismissed as hallucinatory, have given rise to prophecies so artfully layered, so symbolically rich, so uncannily prescient? How could the same vapor have inspired peace in some, dread in others, and poetic transcendence in the oracle herself? Perhaps, as some mystics suggest, the breath was not simply a gas, nor merely a divine whisper, but a threshold, a veil between states of being, a sacred liminality where body and spirit, reason and dream, memory and future, could briefly overlap. The vapor, then, was not the cause of prophecy, but the catalyst, the invitation. In later traditions, especially among mystery schools and oracular cults across the Mediterranean, the idea of the sacred mist continued. From the Sibyl of Cumae in Italy to the trance dancers of Thrace, breath was always the path inward. The body would be emptied, the breath slowed, the space between thoughts widened, and into that silence something entered or awakened. A few esoteric texts claim the vapors at Delphi were not unique, that other sacred sites round the world also exhaled, also sang. The difference was in the listening. Delphi, they said, was a listening place, a resonant chamber of spirit and stone where those attuned to the silence could hear not just the gods, but the earth herself, ancient, dreaming, and endlessly wise. And so the breath of Delphi became more than a vapor. It became symbol. Of inner silence, of intuitive knowing, of the delicate balance between mind and mystery. Even now, in temples of meditation, in dreams beneath moonlight, or in the gentle hush before sleep, seekers feel that same current, that subtle shift, that invisible whisper that seems to say, "Be still. There is something here." And though we may now call it intuition, or insight, or simply wonder, it is the same breath rising. Some mysteries are not puzzles to be solved, but invitations to remain in wonder. The breath of Delphi, its source, its meaning, its strange and timeless pull, is one such mystery. For all our questions and the many answers posed across centuries, something essential remains just beyond reach, like a name on the tip of the tongue, or a dream that dissolves with waking. And perhaps, dear listener, that is its gift. To seek meaning is deeply human. We long to understand, to grasp, to name the unknown. But Delphi reminds us, gently, always gently, that some truths are not meant to be held, only touched. That to sit beside a sacred fissure and feel the air change around you may be more important than knowing why it changes. That the soft rush of something unexplainable can soothe the soul in ways clarity never will. The Pythia never explained herself. Her words flowed like river water, curving, sometimes dark, sometimes luminous. Those who listened carefully learned to stop chasing certainty and instead open to feeling. They learned that answers could be felt more than understood, and that mystery, when honored, becomes a kind of wisdom. And so, the breath of Delphi, whether you believe it was divine ether, ethylene gas, or the symbolic language of a world attuned to spirit, remains relevant even now, not as a relic, but as a rhythm, not as proof, but as presence. In our modern world, where so much must be measured and explained, we have forgotten the softness of mystery, forgotten how to sit in silence without needing to know, forgotten that we, too, are vessels capable of listening, of sensing, of simply being present with what is beyond our control. To ponder the vapors of Delphi is to remember that truth is not always linear, that insight does not always arrive in language, that something sacred lingers in the quiet places of the world, and within the quiet places of ourselves. So the chasm remains, whether in the mountain or in the spirit, still breathing, still waiting, not for answers, but for attention, not for proof, but for presence, not to explain itself, but to remind you how to listen. And maybe, just maybe, when the world is quiet and your breath has slowed, and you sit still enough to feel the echo of your own heartbeat, you'll hear her again, the voice rising not from above, but from within, the same breath, ageless and tender, whispering from the depths, not to tell you what to do, but to remind you who you are. The story, as it has long been told, is one of divine inheritance. In the early days of myth, when gods still shaped the mountains and mortals still walked with trembling reverence, Delphi was claimed by Apollo, the bright god, born of Leto, twin to Artemis, came down from Olympus wrapped in light and golden certainty. He sought a place to plant his presence upon the earth, a sanctuary to house the force of clarity, music, and vision. He found it in a wild and sacred place, the rocky slope of Mount Parnassus, where the earth exhaled dreams. But it was not empty. At the heart of the sanctuary coiled Python, a chthonic being, a serpent said to have been born from Gaia herself. She was not evil, not monstrous in the sense of later fears, but primal, a guardian of the deep knowledge of prophecy's root. She breathed the ancient rhythms of the world before sky gods, before order, before brightness. Apollo, in this traditional telling, came to purify the sight. He loosed his silver arrows and slew the serpent. Her coils unraveled, her breath became his, the cavern became a temple, and the sight was reborn, transformed from a place of raw earth wisdom into one of divine order. It was then that he established the Oracle, the Pythia, and claimed her voice as an extension of his own. From this moment, the Temple of Delphi thrived under his name. Pilgrims came bearing gold and sacrifice. Rituals were performed to honor the god of prophecy. The laurel tree, sacred to him, grew at the edge of the sanctuary, its leaves used in every rite. Apollo's presence shimmered across centuries as bringer of reason, of foresight, of light. And Python, she became a footnote, a mythic foe, a vanquished spirit of chaos. This is the version carved into marble. This is the story sung by hymns and echoed in the scrolls of philosophers. It is the story we are most often told, but it is not the only one. But what if the story was never meant to be told in conquest, What if Python was not slain, but silenced, not by arrows, but by time, by retelling, by the slow reshaping of a myth to fit a world longing for light, yet afraid of depth. In the forgotten telling, buried beneath the chants and temple hymns, Python is not a beast to be destroyed. She is the breath of the earth, not separate from Gaia, but her pulse, her presence. She is not chaos, she is memory. She was there long before Apollo arrived, not guarding a place, but being it. The very chasm from which the sacred vapors rose was her, not metaphorically, literally. She was the breathing core of Delphi, a serpent not of fangs and fury, but of ancient sleep, of coiled knowledge wrapped around the bones of the mountain god. And when Apollo came, he did not slay her with violence, for that would be impossible. One cannot kill the breath of the world. Instead, he cast his light over her and gave the people a new name to speak, a new face to worship. He named the breath divine, yes, but changed its voice. He did not destroy the old wisdom. He overlaid it. The Pythia, in this quieter version of the story, was not only Apollo's vessel. She was a bridge, chosen for her deep stillness, her ability to contain contradiction. She inhaled the breath not only of the god above, but of the serpent below. She held both within her, the fire of the sun and the dark, knowing coil of the earth. Some say the oracle never truly belonged to Apollo, that her riddles, her strange and poetic visions, came from older places, that the god gave her structure, but it was Python who gave her depth. Her trance was not possession, but communion, and perhaps that is why her prophecies were always veiled, never clear. She spoke in metaphors not to confuse, but to preserve the mystery, to protect the presence of Python, hidden beneath the altar, wrapped in shadow and soft, sacred silence. There are folk tales not preserved in scrolls, but passed in murmurs, that say the Pythia could feel the serpent dreaming, that when the god's voice grew too loud, she would sit longer beside the chasm, letting the cool breath of the mountain still her mind, restore her balance. In these stories, Python was never defeated. She only withdrew, down into deeper stone, into slower time, not dead, simply dreaming, waiting for a world that could once again hold her without fear. And now, as we remember this forgotten thread, we must ask, what else have we turned into monsters that were only misunderstood? What truths have we buried beneath the shining names of gods? And what might awaken, quietly, if we dared to sit in the silence long enough and listen? Stories shift, that is their nature, not to remain fixed like stone, but to move like water, reshaping as they pass through generations, through language, through the silent desires of those who tell them. One myth becomes another, not because one is false and the other true, but because each version holds a different kind of mirror. Delphi's tale is no exception. The bright god's triumph, the serpent's breath, the whispering oracle between them. Each version of the legend tells us something about the people who carried it. The Apollo-centered story speaks to a world seeking order, clarity, radiance, the kind of truth that slices like sunlight through shadow. The alternate path, where Python breathes on beneath the temple, speaks to something more ancient, more intimate, a truth that wins, that coils, that doesn't offer answers but presence, and perhaps both are needed. Perhaps we need the light of Apollo, the part of us that longs to see, to understand, to bring wisdom into language. But we also need the breath of Python, the deep intuition, the patient silence, the embrace of what cannot be solved. The oracle sat between these forces. She was never merely a vessel for prophecy. She was a symbol of balance, the midpoint, between sky and earth, between logic and myth, between the known and the unknowable. When she spoke, it was not to declare what will happen, but to invite the listener inward, to the place where choices stir and futures unfold like mist. Even now, the myth lives on, not only in books or broken ruins, but in us. When you hesitate before a decision, not from fear but from reverence. When you feel drawn to silence, to mystery, to meanings you cannot name. When your own breath slows and something wordless rises within you, that is Delphi echoing. That is the oracle not speaking to you, but through you. And in this way, the myth continues, not as something we remember, but as something we embody. The truth that remains is not which version is correct. It is that there is always more than one way to see, always more than one voice within the silence, always more than one breath in the same still air. The oracle did not tell the future. She reminded us to listen, to dream wisely, to ask softly, to trust what we feel, even when we do not yet understand. And now, dear traveler, the echoes of Delphi grow quiet. You have walked a long and winding path, not only across myth and memory, but through the corridors of silence that live in all of us. You have sat beside the sacred breath, heard the riddle of the god, and touched the edge of a story older than time. The oracle, whose voice once guided kings and stirred poets, has spoken again, softly, slowly, through dream and symbol and stillness. But this story, like all stories worth carrying, does not truly end. It becomes part of you. In a hush of your breath, when you close your eyes, in the flicker of thought before sleep claims you, in the quiet knowing that rises, wordless and deep, when the world falls still, there is the oracle, not in stone, not in scripture, but in the gentle rhythm of your own inner listening. The myths we tell are not only about gods and heroes, they are about our longing for meaning, for truth, for a kind of beauty that doesn't fade with age or answer. The oracle at Delphi, whether she spoke from God or from earth, reminds us that there is power in pausing, power in not knowing, power in breathing deeply and allowing the moment to unfold without rushing toward understanding. You do not need to have the answers. You do not need to be certain. You need only to be here, now, present with what is. Let the winding paths of this tale fade into mist. Let the temple dissolve back into stone and silence. Let the breath of the mountain become your own, slow, steady, sacred. And as you drift into sleep, may you feel held in something larger, not a story, but a remembering, not a legend, but a truth that does not speak, only stays. Stay soft, listener, stay dreaming. The oracle is with you still, not to guide, but to keep you company in the quiet spaces where magic lives. Rest now.